afternoon and welcome to the Chicago Philippine Reports TV, still the #1 Filipino show in the Midwest. I'm Girly Pascual.
Good afternoon everyone and welcome to Objectively Reports Show, and I am John Mauricio.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat and welcome to Veronica's segment of the show.
Good afternoon everyone and welcome to the Chicago Philippine Reports TV News. This is your host Luella Cabalona.
I'm Maya Layton and I'm your local newscaster.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo. This is Melody Dizon, your Health Matters host.
Hi guys, welcome to the last portion of our show. My name is Nick Vera Perez and this is Let's Dance with Nick.
Coming from Chicago and the Philippines, a comprehensive review of the week's special community events featuring many exciting personalities handled by the most professional Chicago Philippine Reports TV staff.
Every 10 years, the U.S. Census Bureau counts everyone living in the United States. People like Mr. Lee. It doesn't matter whether they are students, service members, renters, employees, have green cards, work visas, are undocumented, have lived here a long time, or moved here recently or temporarily. Regardless of their age, height, income, or ethnicities, they all count. We all have unique stories that are a part of this great nation. We need to be counted, recognized as a community to have our say in how over $1.5 trillion a year in public funding is distributed for hospitals, schools, and roads for the next generation and beyond. Starting April 1st, it's time to do your part. Fill out the census.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat and welcome to Veronica's segment of the show. Today, I am very honored to have here the 2020 chairperson of the PIWC Independence Celebration in June, and she is this lady next to me who's very beautiful, elegant, and lovely, and very smart, etc., etc. Her name is Miss Jet Grueso. Jet, congratulations on your kickoff.
Thank you.
We're here on location at the Holiday Inn Skokie, and we just finished our kickoff celebration. And Jet is here to tell us what's in the offing for this celebration.
Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Beside me is our Miss Philippines PIWC 2020. Her name is Haina Shakitano. And we really appreciate that you guys are involved in PIWC 2020. As the fresh start of PIWC, a New Year celebration. Actually, Tita V, it will be 122 celebration of our freedom, a 45, a big bang of Happy New Year. My plan for 2020, I would like to help our kababayan, of course in the Philippines, in our homeland. And I would also like to invite everybody on June 13 at Hyatt O'Hare, June 13. And we are trying and praying very, very hard to have Manny Pacquiao as our guest speaker. You wanna say something, honey?
No.
She's shy.
Come on, Miss Philippines.
Isn't she pretty?
Hey, she's so beautiful.
She's a daughter of my best friend, Maria Shakitano.
Very pretty. Well, anyway, what Jet was saying is the highlight of the Philippine Independence Celebration will be held on June 15. And that will be the 122nd anniversary of the Philippine independence. And believe it or not, this lady really has her hands full this year. Besides other things, what other projects do you have?
Right now, what we are aiming to do, like in the Philippines, I'm involved in every year dental orphanage. We always go to this in Taal, Batangas. We offer dental mission every year, and we also associated or the Antipolo, sama na Antipolo, and for more. I mean, we still have a lot of project coming. We also have the Magnificent Lions Club, of course, and here we have our Mrs. Philippines. Come on, Benny, join us.
Mrs. Philippines of the PIWC, Dr. Benny Hizon. Benny Hizon, congratulations. Of course, I know Benny. Benny was a Hall of Famer, right? And please say something about yourself.
Thank you very much, Miss RTV. You are a good member of the community. And I am the Benilda Hizon, the Mrs. Philippines for PIWC for 2020. And congratulations to overall chairman, Jet Gruezo, for this very successful event, the PIWC kickoff. And it is a great event to be involved with. And in fact, we are having a great time. And as a Mrs. Philippines, my aim is also to invite people as much as I can, as required as Mrs. Philippines. Being a Mrs. PIWC, I had been a Hall of Famer also, and also past president of the Philippine Medical Association Auxiliary, and also the Illinois State Medical Society Alliance. It's a great honor to be a Mrs. Philippines. Mabuhay, Philippines.
Yay! The best is yet to come, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Mrs. Philippines Benny Hizon and Miss Philippines Haina. I cannot say your last name. Shakitano. And the beautiful chairperson of the PIWC, Miss Jet Grueso. And thank you so much. And please invite our viewers.
We would like to invite everybody for our gala night on June 13, Hyatt O'Hare. June 13, please don't forget, that will be Saturday, and that will be free parking for the very first time. We are going to have a free parking. Salamat po. What else? Anything else?
Well, and also come and join and see the beauty queens that will be crowned on June 13, 2020. Yeah. And also the members of the awesome and energetic POT members of PIWC and our fellow kababayans and beautiful Filipinos and Filipinas parading on the gala night for the 45th anniversary of the PIWC. Welcome and hope to see you all, everyone. Invite your friends, your families, guests, and your friends to come and see our culture and what we all about.
Mabuhay. See you there, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jet, Haina, and Benny. And come on, guys, and let's go get ourselves ready to attend the PIWC Gala 2020. Thank you.
It's more fun in the Philippines.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Objectively Your Sports and Opinion. I'm John Mauricio. This afternoon, we are here live at at the spiritual center here in
Cityside Spiritual Center.
Center. Yeah, right here on Harvard Street in Chicago. And my guest today, hey, you'll be surprised, especially the Ateneo people. Saint Francis, oh, Saint Francis Assisi of modern times. Modern times, Francis of Assisi.
Oh, I don't know if I can live up to that or not, but I'll try.
All right, but I know you're trying hard in the Camino. Can you talk about Camino?
Well, Camino means the way. Many people are associated with the Camino de Santiago in Spain, which has been around for 1,100 years or so. But there's also another Camino in Italy called the Camino of St. Francis, which follows the small paths and roads that Francis walked 800 years ago, getting from place to place. And my latest book is called Giovanni and the Camino of St. Francis, and it's a novel about that journey and about that walk. And I've walked it myself several times. It's about 110 miles.
Oh my goodness!
But very, very hilly. It's tough, but I love walking. I love St. Francis. I love walking to Assisi, and so I had to write a book about it.
Okay, and my guest today is no other than Dr. James Twyman, the modern-day troubadour. A troubadour for peace, right?
That's right.
And how did you get that name, Troubadour for Peace?
Peace Troubadour. I received that name, I guess it was in 1994, when I put the peace prayers from the 12 major religions of the world to music. And I began traveling around the world, often to countries at war or conflict, sharing those prayers and inviting people to pray while we were in those countries. And in some cases, millions of people would stop what they were doing if I was in Iraq or Syria or wherever it might be and send their prayers of peace. So people just started calling me the Peace Troubadour, and it stuck.
Oh my God, that's congratulations! I like that, the Peace Troubadour.
I like it too.
Yeah, and why did you pick Saint Francis of Assisi?
You know, being raised Catholic as I was, Francis was always around, and I've just always had a deep connection with him. And one day, I remember I was an altar boy in Peoria, Illinois, where I just was last night, actually, and I was up on the altar being an altar boy, and I had a picture of St. Francis, and I was looking at it, and just something happened and began to vibrate, and this light began to envelop me, and I knew I wanted to live as Francis lived. So when I was 18, I entered the order and I wanted to become a Franciscan. I left the order, but my whole life has been, in one way or another, dedicated to him, and now traveling around the country as we are, sharing this musical, Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon, on the way to Broadway. I'll be in New York for 2 weeks, but my friend Bill and I are traveling across the country penniless to try to imitate Francis and to share this musical like we are here in Chicago today.
Well, when you travel penniless, how sure are you that you're going to get a dinner or lunch?
Well, there are two answers to that question. First of all, we're never sure. And the second answer is we're always sure, because everywhere we go, people are moved, and they when someone gives everything, that's very contagious. You want to be around someone who is giving everything and is on fire with love. And so we've been gaining weight on this trip. We're penniless, but everywhere we go, people take us out for meals, people give us places to stay or give us rides. Even though we know each city that we have to go to do the musical, we don't usually know how we're going to get there, but people buy us tickets on trains or give us rides, and it's all worked out beautifully.
Do you perform on the cities that you visited?
Oh yeah, every city we do the musical. In fact, today I'm doing the musical 2 times. Once here at Cityside and once at a church on the north side of Chicago.
Which one?
St. Ida's.
St. Ida's on Broadway.
Yep.
Yeah. So what is the relevance of St. Francis today's?
Good question. You know, we live in a very polarized time.
Yeah.
And St. Francis teaches us about communication, about talking to one another, listening to one another. That was something that he did a lot. In fact, his time was just as polarized as it is today. And yet Francis, because he just wanted to stay in that place of peace, he found ways to talk and to communicate with animals or with other people that were different than him, Muslims, Christians. And so I think he has a lot to teach us today about coming back together. This is a polarized time and we seem to be so far apart, but Francis teaches us that we have more in common than we have separated. And
you know, one lesson, going back to my childhood, my teacher at the Ateneo, which is a Jesuit school, one lesson that I learned from St. Francis was, if you are drowning in a lake with your mother, do you think your mother will save you or save herself? St. Francis, you can answer that.
I think my mother would probably save me. And
well, you know, it was on the contrary, on the in the teaching of the Ateneo Jesuits, that you will save yourself first.
Well, that's funny because, you know, Jesuits are always very different from Franciscans. So maybe that's the Jesuit answer, but the Franciscan answer would be different.
Yes. So, where did you start your walk?
The journey to do the musical? Well, I actually live in Mexico, so we began there, and then we went to Portland, and that's where we began the tour. So we've been to Portland, Santa Barbara, many cities on the way. We're in Chicago now, and then we continue moving east all the way to New York, where we're doing the Broadway musical. And this is going to be the only musical in New York where the primary audience is the homeless. So every day we're on the street passing out tickets and inviting the homeless men and women to come as our guests. And we feed them, we clothe them, we take care of them. It's the people who are buying the tickets who are serving the homeless. So we're trying to do this as St. Francis would.
Well, St. Francis, you wrote some book. I call you St. Francis now.
Okay.
You wrote a couple of books, The Camino. Can you explain that thing, the journey that you are taking?
Well, this is a Camino because life is a Camino, isn't it?
Yes.
And Francis walked his own Camino, and we're walking ours. And for me, especially on this tour, to be able to imitate his journey, his Camino, has been such a beautiful gift. Of course, we're sharing the book along the way. I'm really proud of the Giovanni book, and but I'm just really trying to remember what Francis really taught, how simple the message was and how impactful the message is, and to try and live that to the best of my ability.
Oh my goodness. What's the other book?
I've written 16 books.
Oh
so,
my goodness.
There's been quite a few.
Yeah. Which one is your favorite?
A book called The Barn Dance is my personal favorite. My wife, we lived in Chicago for many years, and my wife was actually murdered in Evanston.
Oh my God.
And that book is about my healing journey around her death. And so because it was such a deep subject for me, it's my favorite story.
Okay. Any last word you would like to say to our viewing audience?
Well, just that, you know, Francis began his journey by serving the lepers that were around him. And today, we have lepers that look different. Leprosy, obviously, is not the problem, but homelessness and disease and age. These are the people that we like to push away. And Francis wrapped his arms around everyone. And I think that's what's needed today, is compassion and peace, wrapping our arms around those that we would usually not want to be around. And if we can do that, I think we can, as he did in his time, bring about a new renaissance in our time.
You know, in the modern day, leper is the coronavirus in China.
Yes.
You know, are you guys doing anything about that? No.
Not yet, but I'm hoping that that somehow it can be contained. But I'm also hoping that the people who are affected by that in China and other places can find healing.
You know, if St. Francis is here right now, what do you think his message is going to be?
It would always be a message of peace. Francis tried to end the Crusades by going to the Sultan of Syria and sharing the real gospel of love with him. And one of the other things that Francis said a lot was, he said, our only job is to teach the gospel of love wherever we go, but only when necessary to use words. And I think that's the key. It's not about telling people things. It's about living and vibrating with that love and that peace. And if we can just do that, the words don't matter. It's our lives that'll make the difference.
All right, you heard the thing from the horse's mouth. And I'm really saving some times because I would like for you to play as a troubadour. I want you to play something to our listening, viewing audience.
Many people are familiar with the prayer of St. Francis,
Yes.
so I'll sing that prayer for you. This is from the musical. Oh Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, bring your love. Oh, divine Master, grant that we may not seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. Make me your instrument, beloved. For it is in giving that we receive, in pardoning that we are pardoned, and in dying to ourselves that we live. I am now an instrument of your peace.
Oh my God. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. My
Saint
pleasure.
Francis. Again, this is John Mauricio. Buy his book. Again.
Giovanni and the Camino of St. Francis.
All right. You can get this thing anywhere?
Amazon and bookstores, pretty much everywhere.
Okay, thank you so much.
welcome.
But, well, I was going to call you Father, but you're way above that. You're Saint Francis of Assisi. Again, this is Joe Mauricio thanking you for watching the show, and I hope to see you again next week. Mabuhay!
Mabuhay!
Yan! Dito na! Perfect!
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Chicago Philippine Reports TV News. This is your host, Luella Cavalona. For our headlines, by 2030, global warming alone could push Chicago to generate 12% more electricity per person each month of the summer. If the city generated any less electricity, it would be risking a power shortage that may require drastic measures to avoid rolling blackouts, according to projections from a model designed by Purdue University researchers. The estimated increase is larger than previous projections because it takes into account how consumers use electricity and water at the same time. The model also considers a wider range of climate features that affect this mixed use, such as humidity and wind speed, making predictions more accurate. Consumers use both electricity and water when running a dishwasher, heating water, or landscaping. Cities also use water to generate electricity and electricity to treat and distribute water. For a windy city like Chicago, wind speed matters when estimating electricity and water use. Temperature might play a larger role in the Southwest, though, where droughts occur. When most people think about dangerous spring weather, tornadoes, thunderstorms, and flooding usually come to mind. In Illinois, roughly 20% of tornadoes occur at night. For a number of reasons, tornadoes that occur at night are twice as likely to result in fatalities. This is why the Illinois Emergency Management Agency and National Weather Service is underscoring the importance of having more than one way to receive emergency alerts and notifications during Severe Weather Preparedness Month. Building a culture of preparedness is how to increase disaster readiness in our everyday lives, said Director Alicia Tate Nadeau. Mother Nature does not discriminate when it comes to severe weather. Severe Weather Preparedness Month serves as an opportunity to remind the public to identify the hazards that exist in their community and put plans in place to protect your family for what may lie ahead. This is your host, Luella Cavalona, signing off for the Chicago Philippine Reports TV News.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. This is Melody Dizon, your Health Matters host. Today we will talk about the ultra-processed foods that are linked to increased cancer risk. Well, they're saying, and we already know that because we always hear it all the time, that ultra-processed foods are not known for their health qualities. We know this, yet it's hard to resist the donuts your kind colleague brought to the office. So now, research published Wednesday that may give you at least a longer pause before you pick the gooey, the dark, the melted chocolate, or the pink one with the sprinkles of donuts. Oh my gosh, I'm getting myself hungry here. So researchers discovered that people who eat more ultra-processed foods have a higher risk of cancer. So such foods are the ones who are unrecognizable and unpronounceable words on the list of ingredients, that I know. Anything from the candy that turns your tongue into blue to healthier sounding canned soups packed with artificial flavors, additives, or emulsifiers. Most food is processed to some degree, but ultra-processed foods are typically much more calories, sodium, and sugar packed. The best diets ranking puts keto the last, they said, and DASH the first, which is those diets that are good for the heart. So researchers has long showed that people who live on ultra-processed food tend to be more obese and overweight. They're also more likely to have heart and circulatory problems or diabetes. Studies have found that eating a lot of processed meat foods like hot dogs has also been tied to an increased risk of colorectal cancer. Oh no, I love Chicago dogs. But they're also asking, can burnt toast and roasted potatoes cause cancer? Well, ultra-processed fats and sauces, sugary products, and drinks were associated with an increased risk of overall cancer, the study says. Ultra-processed sugary products were associated with an increased risk of breast cancer. So people who tended to eat more ultra-processed food also tended to smoke more and exercise less than the others. But the authors controlled for these issues and still found the elevated cancer risk. So it was quite surprising the strength of the results, they're saying. They were really strongly associated, and they did not do any sensitive analysis and adjusted the findings from many cofactors, and still the results were quite concerning, they said. In other words, they weren't very specific even, but yet the results are staggering. What people eat is an expression of their lifestyle in general and may not be causatively linked to the risk of cancer themselves. So it is necessary, though, to rule out what are called confounding factors. The authors made statistical adjustments to accommodate for some of that, but the approach of categorizing dietary patterns that depend on industrially processed food in relation to disease risk is novel, but probably needs refining before it can be translated into practical dietary advice. This study doesn't mean that people should think, oh, if I'll eat crackers, I'm going to get cancer. The overriding message here is that to really look at an overall diet patterns rather than a specific ingredient, and it supports a lot of what we already know. So for example, people eating more highly processed foods are probably eating fewer healthy foods, which may help prevent cancer. So I guess that's an easier way to conclude. Nutritionists recommend a diet rich in whole grain, whole fruits and vegetables instead of foods that have little nutritional value. So the challenge now is to disentangle the different foods and understand the relationship to see what specifically is having this effect. So animal studies have shown that some additives are quite good candidates for being carcinogenic, but that would not be seen if they are also carcinogenic in the human population. So if you're starting to worry about what you've brought for lunch, research says not to be too alarmist. In other words, don't be like, oh, this is going to give me cancer, this is not going to give me cancer, blah, blah, blah. So however ultra-processed foods occupy a growing part of the world's diet, a 2016 study found that 60% of the calories in the average American diet come from this kind of food. And a 2017 study found that they make up 50% of the Canadian diet, and they make up more than 50% of the UK diet. And more of the developing world is starting to eat this way. It's not good. A balanced and diversified diet should be considered one of the most important public health priorities. So eat real food and try to limit ultra-processed meat. Eat at least until now. That's what we know. And there's more to know because as the study says, it does show some correlation, but you have to tie it up to the other co-founding factors like the age, the sex of the patient, the gene, the genetic history, you know, those things. Those are what we call the uncontrollable factors. But the controllable factors are those that we eat, that we have control over, the situation we're in, the place we live, the food that we put in our mouth, you know, those things. So I hope, again, I have given you a little bit of disparity between the two. What is good and what's healthy to be eaten, and what are those that are giving people some concern as they contain some carcinogenic solution or chemical in them. This is Melody Dizon po. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Thank you.